right. Hello, hello. I see us, and I think I hear us.
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's get started. Let me close down a few things here. Yeah, all right. So, good morning. Very good morning to all of you if you are in the Americas. We got a few friends call us out today because they're on the West Coast or Arizona time. So, my apologies. We cater to folks who wake up at 5 in the morning or 7 in the morning to get their day started. But anyways, we are both on East Coast time, so very good morning. And if you're in Europe or any other part of the world, Asia, APJ, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to Code It Live. Welcome. If you're new to our channel, we do a lot of things throughout the week. We do kind of a CMS type show and podcast on Mondays. We do Unity on Tuesdays. We are building a VR world. That's a lot of fun. Wednesdays are for React and UI. Thursdays are for Xamarin and .NET. And today's Friday. So end of the week, we got to celebrate the little things, stretch our legs, and just kind of relax a little bit. So this is our chat show, and especially this year, we are all, it's been difficult for all of us. So this is what we are missing out, just hanging out with folks that are passionate, hanging out with our friends at a conference, just sitting down with a cup of coffee and just chatting. So that's what we are doing. So I am Sam Basu. There you go, that's coffee. My caffeine, I've had my 2 cups, so it's Coke Zero from this point forward. So my name is Sam Basu. I'm a dev advocate at Progress Software, and with me, I have the absolutely wonderful Sarah Dutkiewicz, my good friend. So, Sarah, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Sam?
I'm hanging in there as well. All right, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
So my name is Sarah Dutkiewicz, but I go in the community as Saduki because it's a lot easier to say, a lot easier to spell. It's a college nickname, one of those couple nicknames. So back in college, my husband and I and a bunch of our friends were trying to figure out where to go out to eat. And the group was an even number, split down the line. And our friend Pete said the Saduki counts as 1 vote. And we were just like, you called us what? He's like, the Saduki. And I'm like, I like that. And then when we got married, I asked my husband if I could take the nickname on my own because Sa is from Sarah and Duki's from Dutkiewicz. And the rest is history. So I've been Saduki since 2004, officially.
Nice. I did not know this story, so that's fun.
Yeah.
And it's good to see, excuse me, good to see some of our friends show up in the chat room. Hello, Binary Chef.
Oh, it's Binary Chef. That's Doug over from TDevConf.
Yes, good to see you. And folks, if you are just tuning in, Binary Chef is putting together a conference for all of Tennessee together. I think that's coming up in October, and he's doing a chain of speaker interviews, so that should be a lot of fun. So thank you. And speaking of that, Dan Siegel, another person from West Coast who does not sleep, is up at 5 a.m. I don't know why, but Dan is from San Diego. But again, all of West Coast is it's hurting right now. The orange skies look scary, so please take care. Stay indoors as much as you can, and let the emergency workers do their thing. So Dan, hopefully you and your family and everyone else is doing okay. Okay, so Sarah, I've known you for years and years now, and it's funny that I never knew this story. But you are actually close to me. I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania, and you are in Cleveland, right? So how long have you been? Well, sort of.
So I'm technically in the Northeast Ohio region.
Yeah.
I used to live closer to Cleveland. I am a native Clevelander, but we moved closer to Akron because we were having our commutes one direction. And with family, that driving time, if we could shrink it, meant more time with our family. So we moved closer to the Akron area. Love it here.
Yeah.
Love it here. I'm allergic to just about everything. This summer I had allergy tests to confirm I'm allergic to like the trees and the grass and all that stuff. And I'm like, great, I'm allergic to everything. But I'm not leaving this place anytime soon. I'm a native. I can deal with it. I've been here for 40 years. I got plenty of time to adjust.
There you go. Yeah, I've known a lot of folks from the Cleveland area, from the Hudson and the Akron areas. I used to work with the team there. So, nothing to not like there. Very, very welcoming folks. Everything is good. All right. So tell us what you do.
Let's see. I am a mom of 2 boys. I have 2 boys who are 6 and 8. So they're at school. That's why it's quiet around here. They're actually in person. I am married to a tech director. He's more on the hardware, networking, 3D printers kind of thing, whereas I'm more on the software side of things. I'm a published author of a PowerShell book that came out 9 years ago now.
Yes.
I'm a Microsoft MVP, as my hoodie behind me shows. I've been a Microsoft MVP since 2009, focusing on developer technologies.
Wow.
Used to do Iron Python back in like 2009. I do C#. Nowadays, I'm doing more of the Python stuff. So playing with Visual Studio Code and Jupyter Notebooks, things like that.
Wow.
So I can't help myself. I'm a polyglot programmer. If there's a A&E Hoarders episode on programming languages, I would be on that.
That's nice. Yeah, Python is, I think like Binary Chef maybe does a little bit of Python too. I don't know anything.
Oh, we
I
can
don't
go
know
back and
anything.
forth between that and then my day job. So I'm a principal consultant for Stage 3 Talent, and my main focus is creating their data curriculum. So making data approachable for everybody, from the business executives and the project managers who just want to be able to read data, to people who work in Excel all day and they don't realize the power of Excel for data analysis, to the developers who want to use their programming skills. So I talk about Python. I can also show people R and how to do data science stuff with that. And then we have what we call our citizen data science level, which is going into data science stuff without PhDs.
I see. Very cool. Very cool. Now you mentioned like you've been an MVP since 2009, right? So that's more than 10 years.
Yeah.
That's more than 10 years. That's a long time. So you have your 10-year like blue ring. Nice.
Yeah, my 10-year ring and 2 more discs on top.
Wow. Very cool. So again, I mean, I have known you out in the community for years now, but like, how did you start? Like, did you always want to be in tech?
Yeah, so yes and no. My initial dreams when I was a kid is I wanted to be a clarinetist in the Cleveland Orchestra. Because, I mean, growing up in Cleveland, the Cleveland Orchestra is world renowned, and I loved playing my clarinet. And I grew up in a family where we didn't have a lot of money, so computers weren't going to be something for me to go into. But my 8th grade teacher, we went through computer programming. We had a book about YATHIC on AppleSoft Basic. And I kind of went through that book a little too fast. And she's like, you should consider a career in computer programming. And I'm just like, that sounds awesome. But we can't afford technology. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and my parents are both non-techies. I don't see this happening. This doesn't seem logical. And then in high school, I was working on the high school's website, and I'm going to date myself by telling you guys I was creating content with Adobe PageMill.
Well, I've seen that. Yeah, we're all we've seen yours and go past. So
yeah, but one of my classmates is like, "Why are you doing that?" And I'm looking at him like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You should learn HTML." I'm like, "What's HTML? And who's this guy that he thinks I might know something about this programming stuff?" So that guy who saw that I had programming chops and told me to learn HTML, I'm married to him now.
Okay.
And he still encourages me to this day.
Yeah, if people point out or if you complain about stuff, just marry them and just you'll be good.
Just marry them. But no, he saw my potential. And him and I had a crush on him prior to that. So for him to point that out, and then it all worked. And then from there, when I graduated high school, I had an internship where I was QAing a database in a Linux system for a company looking at car parts. And then they assigned me to a consultant there to help them migrate an Access database to a VB and SQL app. And so I learned all sorts of new technology just before going into college, and that really solidified that I was doing the right thing to go to school for it.
Very nice. So, I mean, here you are after so many years.
Yeah.
Do you love being in tech?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here, what, two decades? So
2 decades,
20 years in tech?
Yeah.
Love it.
So, of course, yeah. Let's talk about kids. Since you mentioned you got a 6 and 8, both boys?
Both boys. Yeah. Both all boy, rough housing and playing at the same time. They're great kids. This morning we went out for donuts, and so it was fun just going out with them. And then they're like, "Mom, can you play these songs?" And so like playing songs, and we're dancing in the car while eating donuts. It was a good start to the day.
Good start. Yeah, I mean, so we're all living through a global pandemic, and like modern dads, like we would like to think that we are equally capable at home, like we can manage the kids throughout the day. but the bonds that a child has with the mother is just like so special. Like there are so many instances where the child will just naturally want to go to the mom because that's their comfort. That's the last resort.
Yeah.
So this whole like staying at home and working while you have kids around, this has got to be hard for every working mom. So how are you dealing with it?
Working moms, working dads, it's hard for everybody. For us, so my husband and I both work from home. His office is in the basement. My office is at the other end of the house than where everything else is. When the kids are home, it's one of those that, like, if they're doing schoolwork, they have their own computers. We have what we did to help make it easier. At 6 and 8, they know what a browser is. They know how to
Mhm.
go to a URL. We actually took the Zoom links for their teachers and put them in the favorites bar so that all they had to do is click the favorite
Mhm.
bar, go straight to the classroom. They're
There you
good
go.
about telling time. So there's clocks in the rooms where they take their classes. So, I mean, having that helps. My husband, so Kevin and I do a divide and conquer when it comes to tech support.
Don't we
He
all?
set up the computer, but if it
Yes.
comes to like browsers not working or if the network is getting filtered because he's got network filtering set up here, then
Hmm.
we work through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But something else I found, and because I've worked from home periodically throughout my career, I have a sign on my door. It's not a fancy, cool LED thing. Like a friend of mine showed us this on Wednesday, where he's got like this LED thing that says "open" and then it says "on the air" kind of deal.
Right.
I don't have that. I had a piece of paper that had an emoji with a face going, which told them that I was busy working. They really
Right.
shouldn't be bugging me. But on the other side, I had like the ta-da blower, and it said not working.
Right.
And so they knew how to read, and the emojis were like the visual cues for them to go, okay, is mom really working? Oh, it said shh. Then yeah,
Yeah.
we should
Yeah.
leave her be.
Yeah, I think like kids like 6 plus, I mean, they start getting a little more independent. I mean, you
Hmm.
can get them into virtual learning, but like ours is 4 and it's hard. Like his attention span is so small. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's just a juggling thing for everybody. So let's talk about you a little bit more. Like I have seen you be a part of the community for a long, long time, and it's not just Cleveland. I've seen you all over in like doing conferences in Columbus and everywhere else. So how do you feel about your local dev community? How did you get started there?
So local dev community. So I got actually let's go back a step. So when I got involved with the community, it was initially in college in Toledo, Ohio, University of Toledo. A bunch of our friends. So at that point, we lived closer to my husband's best friend. His best friend, he met at computer camp, lived across the state. And so when we went to college, we were talking with his best friend, and his best friend said, "Hey, Sarah, you get so excited about technology when you talk to others." He's like, "You should consider speaking at a user group." And I looked at him and I was like, "Okay, Kevin. My husband is Kevin. My husband's best friend is also a Kevin." And I was just like, "Okay, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, there's a Linux users group that happens to meet in your engineering building at the school. You should go to that." Well, I went to that for a while, learning more about their community,
Mhm.
realizing that I'm just some guy's girlfriend who just happens to be there. They're completely unassuming. Meanwhile, my husband and his best friend are laughing because they know I'm taking it all in. And so finally, his best friend is like, "Hey, Sarah," he's like, "You know something about the web? You know about the network administration tool? How about you come and present with me on the Samba web administration tool?" And I was like, "Okay, fine." And so I got into speaking thanks to him. Him and I co-presented at the Linux users group. And then about a month and a half later, there was a team of us from our major who presented at Oopsla 99 in Denver, Colorado. We created a vending machine in Java. And that's how I learned Java on the fly there, which was
Wow,
awesome. Yeah.
a
And
vending
then when
machine in Java.
a vending machine, in, not just any vending machine, but you know where this is going. A
uh,
coffee vending machine
oh, of
in
course,
Java.
has to be with Java, of course.
Yes, and then a couple months later, so while I was at Oopsla 99, I saw a presentation on a language called Squeak.
Hmm.
And so I presented by myself at the Linux users group on Squeak. So
I
I
have
did.
not heard about Squeak.
So Squeak is an old derivation of Smalltalk. I say old because that was 99. Um, so are you familiar with Scratch from MIT?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool for kids to learn how to program. And one of their first iterations of Scratch was based off of Squeak.
Okay, okay.
So they
Yeah.
do like coding blocks, and you could teach kids if and while, things like that. But so yeah, that's how I initially got started. Fast forward, so I graduated and then I moved back to Cleveland. And I was talking with, so I worked for an internet service provider, talking with our mail admin, and he said, "Hey, by the way, don't forget that there's this thing called user groups. You should come and check them out." And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not going to tell him about the Linux users group. How does this even compare and how does this work? Well, I ended up checking it out on the web and I was like, I'm not ready for the Cleveland Linux crew just yet. I'm not ready for user groups at that point. I was just like, eh. A couple years later, I ended up switching and going into .NET. Well, some of our system developers are like, hey, we're going to this user group. You should come with us. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I got back into the community because of my teammates who said, hey, you should check out this user group. Well, there was a dear friend of ours named Jeff Blankenberg.
Mm-hmm.
So now here comes the tie to Columbus. So this was back in 2007, 2008. It was before Central Ohio Day of .NET, so a couple months before that in 2008. And he was speaking in a user group in Cleveland, our .NET user group that I was going to. And he was talking about the coolest things Microsoft was working on. And he was talking about things like Tafiti and some other stuff. And he mentioned World of Warcraft. And I went, sweet. And then I went, oh, crap, I'm the only girl here. I'm going to stand up because I went sweet to World of Warcraft. What have I done? And so that led me to talking to Jeff afterwards. And he's like, hey, you should get involved in the community. And then he introduced me to a bunch of the speakers in the area because he's like, well, come to Central Ohio Day of .NET. And I'm like, okay. So I told my husband, I'm like, I'm going to Central Ohio Day of .NET. This is pre-kid, so it's easy to just pick up and go. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, have fun. He's like, and get ready to start speaking again. And I'm like, ah! So even my husband knew I was going to get back into the community. It's just who I am. It's just what I do. Growing up, my mom always had family coming over. Dad had family coming over. We always were entertaining. So for me, entertaining, networking, talking to people, it's my thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so coming back to Cleveland, got back into speaking thanks to Jeff's nudge and introducing me to people. And then I got into speaking at other user groups, traveling and meeting more people. And in my nature, I'm a connector. So if I find people, I connect people to each other. And I find other connectors, and it just goes from there.
You absolutely do. And I'm going to take some names here. So Sarah Dutkiewicz here and Carrie Pyatt, Sarah Fats. Yes. Like, you are people who, like, your natural way to greet somebody is a hug. And yes. I love that. You're so warm. I love that. You connect with people. Absolutely. And yeah, Binary Chef, I don't know if Java is an ouchie. Like, you'll be surprised. Like, and I'm sure he knows, like, how much stuff. There you go.
I've got my Sudoku Squadron on. And
there you go.
I taught a Java class. Actually taught a few Java classes.
Yeah, Java runs a lot of things. Yeah. And it was funny, like you were talking about like Excel and Access and like they run a lot of stuff, a lot of businesses, and we don't realize it. And then like Microsoft has MVPs who keep talking about like the power of all of these Office tools. Maybe some of us make a little fun of them, but it's true. Like it's a lot of power if you know how to script them, if you know how to use them right. Yeah. Cool. So, like, given what you do at work or in the community, like, what are some things that are super exciting to you, and what are some challenges?
So, right now, I think what's tough. Yeah, I see Binary Chefs talking about Java and Kotlin. Kotlin's the new hotness from what I've been seeing with conferences. Oh, yeah. So the stuff I like doing, like right now, I am going back to Stir Trek. So I'm joining that team. I was on their team for 8 years, helping with coordinating the volunteers. So Stir Trek is a conference that's in Columbus, for those who are not familiar. The conference happens about 2.5 hours away from my home. So not really in my neighborhood, but it's my home away from home. It's where a lot of my conference friends live. It's a fun conference. So I coordinated, the last time I was there, I coordinated 32 volunteers for the day across, it was like 16, I think, theaters. So it was mass chaos, but it's an organized mass chaos when I'm involved. So I like going back to Stir Trek, like going back into the community, being able to talk virtually with each other, because it's always been organized virtually to start. We do weekly chats, weekly calls. We maintain a Slack channel for all of us to go back and forth. I have recently stepped away from so I used to lead the organization for the International Space Apps Challenge Hackathon at NASA Glenn Research Center here in Cleveland. Yeah. Federal contracts involve all sorts of stories behind that. But I stepped down so I could go back to Star Trek. And because I'm also dealing with some health stuff right now. So that's where my challenge is.
Mhm.
So this past June, I was diagnosed with psoriasis. So you'll see like some spots on my head. And then I also get it all over my hands and all over my head. And we're waiting to see an arthritis doctor as well. So,
Mhm.
so
I'm
it's one
so
of those,
sorry. Yeah.
that's a challenge for
Yeah.
me. Another challenge is finding how to organize events that make sense. Well, hello, Ryan Swanstrom. Making events that make sense for both the organizers, for the speakers, for them to get value, and then for the audience to get value, like hallway track. How do we manage that kind of stuff? So that's the stuff I'm looking for. That's the biggest challenge on the
Yeah.
organizing side that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, most conferences, like we haven't been to in-person things in a while, they take a lot of work behind the scenes
I
to
do.
pull things off smoothly. Yes, and Binary Chef, we can talk all about federal contracts. I'm sure Sarah's got some experience. I got some. It's yeah,
Thankfully, I'm a
it's
one-person shop, and so I am my own red tape, and that's how I was able to go, "Hey guys, I got this," because it was one of those. The hackathon being at NASA Glenn, I had moved to NASA Glenn the year they recruited me
mhm,
because they recruited me for my contacts. They knew that their first year they had 40 people, the second year they had 20 people, so they had a really bad drop in attendees. So they're like, Saduki, you got the visibility, let's go. And I'm like, okay. So I brought everybody in. But the thing is, when they found out that we were hosting at NASA Glenn, NASA Legal's like, well, you need to do a contract process, a bid process, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, this is tough. And we were led by a local organization of small businesses, and they said, we can't help with this, and backed out of the event with like 6 weeks to spare.
mhm,
And so, at that point, 6 weeks away from the start is
yeah,
not a good spot to be in, let
yeah,
alone into a federal bid process. And so we talked with them and were able to make some concessions. And I ended up getting all my federal IDs and getting in the system and getting everything approved by like 3 days before the event. And that's how I accidentally became a federal contractor. And the only reason why I was a federal contractor is so that we could host that event at NASA Glenn and keep it community led.
sure, sure. Well, quite a story, and yeah, Binary Chef. Yeah, we'll
Yay.
definitely have chats. We have to have hallway tracks. And we have to have networking. We have to be talking to people. As antisocial you might think we are, like we love people that are passionate, people like us that we connect to at conferences. Yeah.
Curious Drive.
Hello, Curious Drive. He's a good friend of ours. Hello. Good to see you. Okay, so let's talk about tech that you deal with at this point. Like there is a lot happening across the board on Microsoft ecosystems. What is something that you really feel passionate about, that you feel is really cool and you want to invest some time?
Jupyter Notebooks. All
Jupyter.
about Jupyter Notebooks. So for a while there, I was doing talks on Azure Notebooks,
Mm-hmm.
and basically Azure hosted Jupyter Notebooks. But those are getting retired as of like October 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of sad to see that. It was one of those. So do you know Frank Lavinia?
Yes. Yeah.
So Frank
Not
and
personally too much, but yes.
we hopped on in a LinkedIn chat, and he's like, so what are you talking about nowadays? I'm like, Azure Notebooks, and I went to pull it up, and that's when we saw the dreaded yellow bar of, by the way, this previous site's retiring. And I'm like, oh no. And it was initially supposed to retire at the end of September, but they pushed it out to October 9th. And that's when I changed my talk from Azure Notebooks to Jupyter Notebooks specifically, because Jupyter Notebooks still lives in the platform. They have it in code spaces. So what Visual Studio is, Visual Studio Code Space is going to GitHub Code Spaces, that kind of deal. Azure ML also has it, a couple other places. And then Jupyter Notebooks in general, I host on my machine and play.
For
Yeah,
the
Ryan, I
yeah.
know that they are going away. They did have some issues anyhow.
Can you like for the uninitiated, could you tell us like Jupyter Notebooks real quick, like what it does?
Okay, so think of Jupyter Notebooks as a way to do a presentation of your data and findings from research, where you have two main code cells. You have the ability to write Markdown, so write your findings in English, and then you can also present code. And the code itself, you can run it, and then the output will appear below. This supports various languages. So if you go to jupyter.org, you can see more about the organization Project Jupyter, the product, which is Jupyter Notebook. You can learn about the Jupyter kernels, which offer various language support. Native support starts with Python. Azure Notebooks supported Python, R, and F Sharp. On my local machine currently, I have R and Python because I'm doing a lot of data science and data engineering and data analysis curriculum writing. On another one of my machines here, though, I also had a PowerShell kernel at one point just because of the presentation ability of being able to show text. So I like it from a teaching tool because I can write, here's like the lesson, and then here's some code, and here's the code's output.
Right.
It's very interactive thanks to those kernels.
Awesome. Very good. And I'm guessing since you are excited about this, we're going to hear you talk about Jupyter Notebooks a lot more at conferences.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And do you know Brian Sherwin out of Columbus?
Yes, absolutely.
So he did a Jupyter Notebook talk at CodeMash a few years back. And it was a play on Drops of Jupyter, the song. And so that's what got me hooked on this. It was that little glimmer, and I just ran thanks to Brian's presentation.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio actually has such a vibrant developer community. Like, and you say it like with your Columbus ties. Like, I'm in Pennsylvania now, but like I keep going back to Columbus and Dayton and Cleveland, like all these folks and all the friends that I know. It's a great community to be in, and just kind of learning from each other.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, everybody stays in contact with each other too.
Yeah.
Like way back when I did a talk, I think it was my Iron Python talk, where I ended up doing a circle of talks where I talked in Cincinnati at their .NET user group. I talked at one of the local companies there, their internal user group. I spoke at Dayton at their internal user group, or their .NET user group, because the community, we all talk. So we were able to coordinate that, and we can coordinate that across Ohio to the point that we can Cincinnati, Dayton to Columbus, and then you can come either to Northeast Ohio and we'll hook you up here, or we have our friends in Northwest Ohio that over by like Findlay and Toledo area that we can hook you up with them over there. The only part of Ohio that we're not connected to right now is Southeast Ohio. However, we're looking at property down there, so we may eventually be able to meet others down there and see if there's a .NET community.
Sure. And I know at one point the .NET user groups, they kind of timed it so they were like on each day of the week, so somebody could just do a tour and hit all the user groups.
Oh yeah, no, we do that intentionally because we could always talk with each other and plan that.
Yeah. Curious Drive. I didn't know you were in Philly. Good to have another Pennsylvanian. I am in the northwest corner. We call it like the chimney. So if you're going east to west, there's a slice of Pennsylvania that goes up. So you can actually cross Pennsylvania in like half an hour between like Cleveland and Buffalo. But I'm like 7.5 hours from Philly. I could get into Canada in like 30 minutes in a boat, but it takes me a long time to get to Philly.
Yeah, where you're at, it's easy to go from your place to Niagara. We pass through there all the time. Yeah,
it's the place where you stop for gas because there's nothing else going on.
A Quaker Steak. There's a Quaker Steak at Peach Street.
There you go. All right, Allentown. Yeah, lots of local folks here. Good to see all of you here. All right, so let's talk about you're a complete geek and a nerd at heart. Like, what's your favorite tech gadget right now?
My favorite tech gadget, I think, are our 3D printers that we have.
Ooh, what do you have?
So we have an Ender 3 and a Robo 3D. And it started with one of those where, so hosting the NASA Space Apps Challenge, Maker Gear is actually local to us, and Maker Gear loaned printers and included all sorts of supplies and the filament and stuff. They're an awesome partner for us in the community. But seeing that, my husband had been talking for years about how he wants a 3D printer, but he wasn't sure, but he wants one. So I told him, all right, you're coming to Space Apps this year. Bring the kids. That's fine, because if I'm the lead organizer, then he takes the kids and usually keeps them distant, except the past couple of Space Apps. We got the kids involved. But Kevin came, he saw the 3D printers. He got talking to the one guy who mans the 3D printers. Next thing I know, we get a Robo 3D. And then about a year and a half later, then the Ender 3 showed up. He's been 3D printing stuff. He used to spend a lot of time on Thingiverse, getting various parts. But recently, he's been getting into 3D modeling and 3D design of his own. So using Tinkercad, and there's another one that he uses whose name I can't remember. And he designed pencil boxes for our kids for the school year, complete with their names embossed on the side.
Oh, nice.
And for me, I struggle with 3D awareness. How I exist in this world, I don't know. Like Minecraft was one of those things I'm like, there's a 3D aspect to it. I don't know if I'll ever get it. I got it. But watching my husband do 3D modeling, so he actually showed me how he built the pencil cases step by step, and watching him take an idea and then splicing and dicing it into 3D pieces and putting like rectangles and creating rectangular holes and putting triangles. I was just like, this is how I splice and dice CSS in a 2D world. It made all sorts of sense. So for me, just taking all that in and watching him and going, I understand what's going on now.
There you go.
I love
Nice, nice. Cool. So, I mean, a lot of us, like, we deal with tech kind of throughout the day, even like after quote unquote work. What's your like work-life balance like?
So work-life balance right now, especially working from home, is mass chaos.
Mhm.
Especially since we're trying to get our data curriculum out the door, and so that's one of those that if I'm up early before the kids wake up, I'm going to hang out in my office and write because like 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. is that golden hour
Right.
of peace. Nobody else is awake in the house. I can actually focus and get some writing in. And then it's getting the kids ready for school, getting them out the door. Usually my husband will take them. And then I have most of the rest of the day to work on curriculum. And then we'll go pick them up from school, and then it's family time. And then once the kids go to bed, it's either I get some time with my husband. We have that weird thing called adult time and time with each other. But sometimes we'll just take that as me time for ourselves. He'll go play his video games. I'll either be playing video games like Forager or Minecraft or something along those lines, or I'll be doing more curriculum, especially because, so you see my energy when I get excited about things. My curriculum, I'm that excited about it that there will be some nights where I'm like, the work-life balance is going to tilt a little bit and I'm going to write a little more for work, but that's because I'm just so excited I got to get it out.
Sure, absolutely. Cool. And I was going to ask you, like, kids like 6 and 8,
Yeah.
we want them to have the independence to do whatever they want, but like, how are you getting them into STEM, or are they interested?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when mom and dad are both tech
There you
geeks,
go.
they can't help themselves.
Yes.
They were exposed to it very early on. So Scott Hanselman created an app called Baby Smash.
Yes.
And so we had them playing with Baby Smash early on. We found a silicone keyboard, so it's easy for cleaning, and it rolled up. And if the kids destroyed it, it wasn't that expensive, so we weren't concerned. But so they got to see when you push a button, the cause and effect of, oh, I pushed this, and faces come up, and they start giggling. This is hilarious. So they were exposed to that. My older one, Logan, he has done there's a summer camp where they were doing coding and teaching kids Scratch. So he was doing Scratch with that. The other thing that we like to show them for STEM is getting into the Microsoft Make Code. So our boys are into Minecraft, and Make Code actually has a section on there on Minecraft. So I was able to show them, look, you can spawn chickens. You can spawn multiple chickens because of this loop. And so talking with them through that is pretty neat. My husband's more on the hardware side with like sensors and stuff, so he could teach them soldering, and they've been asking him lots of questions about that, which is cool. Yeah. And then another part of the science that's not so techy is we do gardening, and so we teach the kids about
gardening. Connected, yeah.
Absolutely. They have their own little garden this year, and so they're growing beans and broccoli, cauliflower, potatoes, and there's something else that they brought home from school, but I don't know what it was. In addition to a regular garden.
Yeah, you're giving me ideas. Our kid is 4.5, so I'm trying to look at the right ways of channeling his like enormous energy throughout the day.
Oh, absolutely. Getting outside is something that we find to run the energy out the best.
Yeah.
And then neighbors down the street, so their kids are more high school age and have outgrown a trampoline, so they gave us the trampoline, so our boys bounce out their energy on the trampoline as well.
Nice. Right now it's like sad panda in our home. Our Xbox is broken, and we are waiting to have it fixed, and I don't want to get a new one because the new ones are coming out like in 2 months.
I was going to say, you get a new one now, the newer ones come out. Oh, there's Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hello. Labo Panda. I love that. Labo Panda. I love that.
So Linda deals with Salesforce stuff. So Salesforce programming, Salesforce admin, that kind of thing. She's here in the Northeast Ohio in the Cleveland area. So if you're in Cleveland and Salesforce, Linda is the person to know.
There you go. All right. So what's your favorite food or cuisine?
My favorite food right now, well, my favorite cuisine is Chinese.
Nice.
Being married to a guy who's half Chinese and having authentic Chinese in China and Hong Kong. Yeah.
It's very different from American Chinese.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
oh God, yes. And then right now, my favorite food is the pawpaw. So it is a
What's the
fruit that
pawpaw?
is native to the Appalachia area.
Oh,
It's about the size of a mango,
hmm,
but the flavor is a mix between like a mango and a banana. We
okay.
first saw it at a local grocery store. My husband's like, "Oh, what is this?" And we found out that it's hard to find up here in Northeast Ohio
Hmm,
because it's hard to transport, but it's
see.
common from like Central Ohio and South. And so he got into this kick and he kind of deep dive, and now we have like 30 pawpaw trees or so in the house. Some on our sunroom, some in our yard, some he sells. Um, but he ended up getting 4 pounds from a friend of ours who has an orchard. And so we've been eating those lately, and I am just in heaven. Nothing like taking a pawpaw that's been ripening in the fridge and then go, oh, it's just fresh.
Hmm,
It's like a natural pudding almost.
hmm.
So good.
Try to see where I can get that. That sounds exciting. Cool. And then do you cook? Like, do you get your kids
I
to cook?
do. I do cook. I do cook. I do bake. 2020, I had goals. Actually, 2019, my goal was to learn to make nut roll. So I'm Slovak, and nut roll has been something in my family that we all love eating it, but nobody knew how to make it. And I already was carrying the family kolachki recipe. So I used to make kolachkis, which are like fold over cookies with the jam. So I used to make those with my grandma. She passed 30 years ago, and I've carried the family recipe on my own since. And I was like, well, if I can do kolachkis, I could probably do nut roll. So I learned nut roll in December of 2019. I made my goal for 2020 to become more comfortable with yeast.
Hmm.
And my other goal was to get better with cooking meats, because when it comes to cooking, I'm good with side dishes. I'm good with desserts. You put me in front of meats, and I'm like, calling my husband, Kevin, help. But so he's been helping me with learning how to cook meats as well. Um, I I eat just about everything as long as it's not super spicy. I can do flavor. I can't do heat.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cool. And then 2020 has been the perfect year to kind of invest in these things. If we
Mhm.
and so like when the whole thing started back in March, like the wife and I, like we were super excited and we were trying so many different things, and then we are learning a variety of new cuisines and foods to make. We're running a little short on steam right now because it's been going on for a while, but
Yeah.
we still enjoyed the cooking part definitely much more than what we usually get to do.
No, is your little one getting into the different foods as well?
Yeah, he's open to most palettes and he tries to help, but makes a mess, complete mess. But that's
Well,
part of it.
their help at that phase,
Yeah,
yeah. They mean well. It's just
they
really
mean well. Yes. All right. So this may be a trick question. If you had $1 million right now,
you're
what
gonna
would
make
you
me
do?
sing, aren't you? If I had $1 million, I'd be rich.
You would be rich. How would you
If
spend it?
I had $1 million, what would I do? The first thing I'd do is I'd call my financial advisor. I'd be like, "All right, help, Sheldon. What do I do?" Because between retirement, kids' funds, I want to be able to invest in our retirement a little more, but I also want to do microloans and
Hmm.
donations to local nonprofits.
Oh, that's
So,
nice. Okay.
kind of spread it out between like investment and grow that over time, but then also immediate. How can I help the world today?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's very nice of you. And I mean, there's a lot we can do to help. There's just so many people hurting. So that's very nice of you. And yeah, I have, like I said, I've known you for years and years. You're completely amazing and awesome. So we love you for what you do and how warm and welcoming you are in networking with people. So, any parting thoughts, any inspirations you want to leave us with?
Sure. So I don't know who all is. I mean, I recognize some of our familiar friends in the audience, but I don't know who else may end up seeing this. So if you're new to programming and you're not sure where to go, check out hashtag Code Newbie on Twitter, because that is a welcoming community to folks who want to learn new things. And it's not just for like newbies just getting into programming, but those of us who've been here forever who are getting into new technologies or who want to support those getting in. Hashtag couldn't newbie on Twitter is a good one. If you want to network with people in your local communities, look up technology and the word user group. So .NET user group, Python user group, Java user group, Flutter user group, whatever technology you're working with, user group. Look for that in your favorite search engine, and you'll probably find some local user groups. Meetup.com is another great way for networking with others and finding those groups. But I know not all groups are on Meetup, so that's why I say the search engine as well.
Yep.
If you are a dev organizer who is following this, if you want to network with other developer organizers, reach out to me. I'm Saduki on Twitter. I am
You have
Saduki.
our Twitter handle right there.
Yeah. I will get you an invitation to the Dev Organizer Slack. We have organizers from throughout the world who all just talk about what's going on from the organizer life and how can we be better and how can we work together and help each other out.
Yeah, the same challenges exist in so many places. We can all learn from each other. And I mean,
Yeah.
you bring up a great point. Like sometimes, like we grow up in this community and we have had years and years in this industry, but we don't realize sometimes, like coming in new, it can be overwhelming. It's just there's just so many things going on. So like pick something. I think what appeals to you, what's most you feel passionate about, or what applies to whatever training or job you're doing, and then just like grow up from just the way Sarah, you said, pick up communities that you can learn from online. And maybe like the thin one silver lining of all of this is like things are very easy to get on. Most communities are online now, so it's easy to just hop on something in the evening and start learning.
Right. And if it's something I'm going to recommend in the online communities, if you get a chance, turn on your web camera. Know that there are other humans on the other side of these names, and know that we all exist. And if you're in a user group, if you have on your webcam, speakers can see their engagement. They can see that you're excited. They can see that you're looking forward to the talk.
Absolutely.
We need that reminder that there are other humans out there and we're not alone in this craziness.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Sarah, I know you're busy, but thank you for taking some time to just chat. This is what we have been missing out on. I'm so glad that we're getting to at least connect online. So thank you for all you are, and we love you. So just keep on doing what you're doing, and we shall see you in person soon sometime.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, that's it from us. And this week, we will be back with our scheduled shows all throughout next week. But until then, stay healthy, stay safe, stay happy and productive. And we'll see you on the next stream. All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.